What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? We're back at it, and today we're breaking down the tier list. I saw a Reddit post. I'm sure Daedra can bring it up and scroll through the comments. People were raging over my tier list. They were making up what the tiers should be, even though there's a description right there that explains like what the tier is. So I figured I'd break it down. I'm just gonna break it down anyway, but now we even have more of a reason to break it down because these Reddit nerds are upset that we exist. I guess I don't know what's going on, but I'm just gonna get into it. I'm not gonna waste y'all's time with some crazy long intro. We're going right into SS. We're gonna do SS tier and S tier, and then I'll break down A plus in another video, A in another video. The biggest argument I saw over and over again on the Reddit was there's too many gods in SS. Understand, my SS tier are the OP. It's must pick, must ban. The top gods in the game. There's 10 bans. So realistically, there could have been 10 gods in this, and it would make perfect sense. We didn't put 10 in here. We were pretty realistic with it, in my mind at least. They said Ao Kuang is not good at higher levels, which is insane because you would have to literally watch nobody play the game to see that Ao Kuang is actually really good at higher levels. In the solo lane, it farms and has really good matchups, oddly enough, in ranked into a lot of stuff because you're able to rotate in and clap with a tank build. And then out of the jungle, with a mage build, you can still one-shot. Now, I can understand if these players are very low-tier players who don't watch somebody who teaches the game. This guy. That Ao Kuang is not an auto-attack built god. You can go one, maybe two max AA items, but you go Eye of the Jungle, so there's one of them. So you're really only building one, if you want to. It's a mage god. You play like a mage. You play with cooldown. You spam your abilities. You one-shot. You execute somebody. It's that simple. It's that simple. There's nothing else to it. That's why he is where he is, because he can be played as a tank in the solo. He can be played as a damage dealer in the jungle. Plays just like a mage, and even though mage items were nerfed, mages are still performing very, very well. And just if you guys haven't seen it, hopefully spoiler, you can mute for the next 30 seconds. If you haven't seen the data mining, the next god is a melee mage. That's going to be probably our next assassin. It's probably our next jungler. Just throwing it out there. That's data mining. That's what it says. So that's Ao Kuang and why Ao Kuang is in the SS tier. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you in any which way. If you need the build, it's updated on Smite source. If it's not updated, I'm going to double check if this video, make sure it is for you guys see it. Then Bastet. This was the other one that people were really upset about. And I'm not really 100% sure why. They were saying Bastet is being overvalued, overrated. It isn't that good. It doesn't take a lot for you to just go into the game before speaking. Look at abilities and realize that Bastet has 90% scaling on the 1, over 100% scaling on the 2. Actually, it's right around on, wait, what is it? It's right, it's 3 ticks now, right? 1, 2, 3, it's 3 ticks. So it's right under 100% scaling. The 3 is 95% scaling, and the ultimate is 105% scaling. So, and you see those numbers, I'm pretty sure she's still the highest scaling god in Smite. And we're in a meta where farm is important, quick clearing, which she can do with the Smite source build. And we're also in a meta where continuous fighting is valuable. So you're running low cooldowns. She's got 10-second cooldown on her 2, her main damage ability, even though all of her abilities hit really hard. With cooldown, you're at 6 seconds. Your 1 gets down to 12 seconds. So with cooldown, you're down to 7 seconds. Your 3, 12-second cooldown, down to 7 seconds. Ultimate, 90-second cooldown. With CDR, you're down to what, 50, 55 seconds. Your cooldown timers are perfect. The build that is core to assassin junglers works with her very well. Really, really well. And then to top it off, she has built-in sustain, if you didn't already know, from her passive. So pair that with a Soul Eater, and you can go hit a wave after a fight, which she's very good at, by the way. She goes into a fight, you leap, you kill somebody, you poke them, whatever, you leap back, you get poked during that time, you go heal off one camp. Just to the camp, and you will full heal with the Smite source build. That's why she is performing where she is, okay? Understand that. That combination, cooldown, high power, high scaling, and then built-in sustain on top of the sustain build, so it's in her kit and in the build, is making her kind of just walk through the consistent team fighting that's happening in ranked. So please understand that. If you're a Reddit user and you're thinking that's incorrect, those are all facts. That's just simple statistics and math. Also, just on the weird sense that you still think it's wrong, here are the win rates currently for patch 10.7. Bastet is the second highest assassin next to Kali, and Kali is clearly broken even after a nerf. She's gone down about 0.5% in win rate with the nerfs. The nerfs aren't the reason for that. It's just players being bad. Kali's the best god of the game by a lot. And then you go down to where, you know, everyone's kind of clumped a little bit more. And Bastet's the second best assassin in the game. That's crazy, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Surely. Bastet died. Jormungandr. Jormungandr came out in the SPL first. The patch hit, I think it was 2 or 3 patches ago. There was a tournament going on. Someone played it in the solo, and then that whole tournament, it got played over and over again. That transferred into ranked, and everyone realized how easy it was to win lane. And this is because of the item changes, the changes to the lane in general, the changes to farm and tankiness and mage damage in general, and then how long team fights became. So the longer team fights, gods that do consistent build-up damage are better. So if you go back a couple months when team fights were instant, there was no long fights because everyone had so much damage. Burst, quick killing gods were at the top of the meta. We go into this, gods that have sustained damage, Bastet, Alquang, Jormungandr, Kali, crazy, are all at the top of the meta. That is why. That is where it came from. That is why he's up there. Now, that doesn't mean he can't be beat. Over the last month or so, people have figured out matchups that do decently against him. I've seen Shiva played into him. Kukulkan played into him a lot. And then I've seen Guardians come out to be played into him. But it still doesn't change the fact that Jorm is very, very strong right now. Then we move on to Kali. If you're arguing this with me, I can't help you. Kali, as I showed you, has the highest win rate in the game by a lot. 3.5% is a crazy jump in win rate from the second highest win rate god. Kali's the best god in the game. The reason she came up even harder was they made AA items decent or meta with the changes. So crit got nerfed, AA came back. That made Kali better. Then the fact that her passive gives her percent pen, which they nerfed a little bit in this last patch, but it makes still killing tanks a little bit easier. It just brings her up in the meta. Being able to go through the tanky targets if she needs to, being able to just quick kill carries with the build. She's crushing it right now. She's definitely the top god probably in the entire game. Next to, I would put her on par with Marticaris. Why is Marticaris here? He has one of the most bloated ults in the game, and his ult is probably still, even after the slight nerfs, one of, if not the best ability in the game. His ultimate is an instant cast. So if someone's CCing you or hitting you or about to CC you, whoever just resubbed, shout out to you. Yeah, if you're ever about to be hit by a CC, about to be hit by a lot of damage, whatever, you install. You go up in the air. There's no delay. There's no canceling. There's no stopping. It's instant, right? Then you're in the air for 3 seconds, which outlasts Aegis and outlasts pretty much every ability in Smite. You're also untargetable, CC immune, and you're shredding their protections with the ability. That's a bloated ability. I mean, you compare that to Rama Snipe, which is similar, 3 seconds in the air, 3 snipes that are much harder to hit, no pen shred, no secondary proc on the ability, longer range, sure, but no movement, no safety factor to the Rama ult. You can't get back to your tower while floating in the air. Marticaris ult is insane. And then match that up with 30% movement speed out of the grass, which is super strong. The multiple grass points you can drop for really control of any area. If there's 3 grass points down on a fire giant, it is difficult to walk up to that fire giant. Then his burst, right? He's late game. He's doing 70-80% of someone's HP with just the 2-1 combo, just proccing the root. And then you're in a root for 2 seconds. So you get the auto 2 more times, maybe 3 more times, and the person dies, right? Marticaris is still bloated after the changes. Talking about bloated gods, Ravana. Who would have thought? Ravana's still good. So I saw a Reddit post where Hi-Rez addressed the Ravana stuff. So in this last patch nerf, they nerfed Ravana's damage. Despite the shield, the tankiness being the thing that made him come back into the tippity top of the meta. They addressed it, basically said they messed up. They're probably going to revert the tankiness with the next patch. My guess is they put the damage back on and take away the tankiness. If they take away the tankiness and leave the damage nerf, he will fall way, way, way down. So be watching out for that. But if you didn't know, his passive was giving him a 28% shield before this, well, after this buff that he got to the shield. 28% of your health turns into, you know, extra on top of shield. So you have 130% HP. That's ridiculous. That is unheard of, and it's on a passive that can keep proccing. It's really, really just bizarre. On top of that, his ultimate is offensive and defensive. His 2 is offensive and defensive. He can basically avoid every major ability in the game by using his ult and his 2 properly. Then he has really short cooldowns on his 1, decent cooldown on the 3, sustain off of the 3, and then good damage between the whole kit is 4 damaging abilities. It is what it is. Thor at the top. Remember, I made this tier list before the nerfs, but despite the nerfs, this doesn't change anything so far on this tier list. Thor also got nerfed. The problem is Thor's nerfs are something that slightly, not drastically, slightly affects the solo lane. Not by a lot, just a little bit, enough to slightly notice it, but you still have a good solo lane. And that's what's crazy about him, is he's not at the top because of solo lane. He's at the top still because of jungle. Ever since the damage changes, he's been a solid jungler. Ever since they made him, you know, damage on his 2 and just made him kind of more consistent throughout the match. You saw gods like Thanatos also don't fall off late game. Thor followed suit. He doesn't fall off late game. He's doing enough damage to one-shot people all throughout the match. His 2-1 combo, having the poke and control over objectives and everything, is what puts him over the top on a lot of these other assassins. But then it's just the fear and the fact that his ult will, like, landing on you if your beads are down, or even if you just don't beads properly, he's gonna one-shot you. It's really hard to match up with Thor's damage and everything else. There's only a few gods out of the jungle that actually do, and all of them are here. That's why Thor is where he is on this tier list. I believe the nerfs were damage to his 2 or scaling to his 2 was changed, and one other thing was slightly changed. But really, if you play it in the solo lane and you have played it, you can see that it's still very, very good and just about the same. That's our SS tier. Remember, gods that are picked and banned, or should be picked and banned every single game. 100%. I think I was ahead of the curve on the Bastet, but if you play Smite right now, at least Diamond Plus, there's a Bastet in 90% of the games. So I knew what I was talking about ahead of time, and I still know what I'm talking about. Sorry for the arrogance, ego, whatever. It's just is what it is. It's what I do for a living. I'm going to learn this stuff and figure it out. And then when people don't want to listen and argue with me, I got my facts. They got their opinions. It's kind of weird to argue with opinions, but you know, it's not me. S tier is what we're going to go over next. Once again, I'll break this down since Reddit couldn't read it. Priority picks that usually get through. So these are gods that are very strong. Depending on your bracket, obviously picks and bans do change bracket to bracket. At lower end, people are scared of stuff that isn't scary. At higher end, people just get rid of the same stuff over and over again, so they don't have to deal with it. Remember, most of these are going to be consistently most important picks on a team. So in a lot of ranked games, these are all banned. Jorm gets through a little bit more, but these are all banned at higher end. So it falls down to these. Agni has been one of the most consistent mages all year. So if you're arguing with this, I can't really help you. It's range CC on a mage, which is just immensely valuable. On top of the ability to play this god inconsistently. And when I say that, I mean you can miss abilities, miss a bomb stun, and you still have 2 more bombs. You could miss a 2, still have bomb stun and up 2 other bombs, right? You could 3 out of position, have them dive on you, but full commit on top of yourself because of the amount of damage and control the god has. And that's putting him up there. His only flaw in the whole really game right now is his level 2 clear if you don't get the wave fast. So if you are to wave first, you'll probably get out cleared. You'll lose control of the mid lane. That's not a big deal. Sit under your tower for 2 waves. It's okay. Bakasura, he's not getting banned because his team fight is slightly weaker than other gods, but his ability to farm the map, and if he gets an early kill, which is when he's weakest, it ramps up his ability to get to late game, and it ramps up his team fighting. And getting early kills when you have a level lead, you hit 5 first, 6 first because of your farm potential, is very, very common, which puts him up there. Horus, the best support of the game. It's simple god that does a lot. He is shred on his 2, meaning he takes away protections if he hits his 2 on somebody. He is targeting one person, so you don't have to be, you know, a lower end support trying to hit multiple gods with one ability. You don't have to overthink things. It's simple. I see guy, I run it guy, I hit guy, right? Also, if you are a single target support, it makes your teammates want to follow up off of your single target damage, which makes everyone hitting the same target a lot more common. On top of that, he's really, really hard to kill. We've talked about this a lot. They nerfed his 3 cooldown back because they overbuffed it. It doesn't matter. He can go in, 2-1, 3 out. Wait for his cooldowns to come back up, go in, 2-1, 3 out. And he never dies because of it. It's insane mobility. It's a really, really strong support for ranked. I'd really put him up there as 1-2, like in the 1-2 slot with one other god, which we're going to talk about in a second. Janus mid. The fault at Janus mid is that bad players play Janus. People that are afraid to just throw out their ultimates for rotation. They think they have to hit the ult on 6 people. They have to aim it. It only has to be used perfectly. That's when you're a bad Janus. It's very simple to be a good Janus. You throw your 2 out, it clears the wave, and then you rotate. You rotate around the map faster than anybody because of your portals, your 3 movement, your passive movement, and because of your ultimate. So if you're one of those people who understands that you don't have to worry about hitting every ability, sometimes it's just about the movement, Janus is going to be good for you. Really, he's got some of the best wave clear early with Conduit Gem, and then some of the best individual damage while being safe as a mage. He's able to get in and kind of hit whoever he wants and then get out when played properly, which is rare on a mage. Kuzimbo, he's had the massive come up lately. Pretty much cancels out the idea of ever killing or hunters or mages ever killing the front line, which is a big thing that started happening with the percent pen builds. Kuzimbo with his 2 and with Thorns can eat, like, I have a video, I put it on Twitter, I don't know if we put it anywhere else. I Krakened a Kuzimbo. I was full health on Poseidon. I was full mage jungle. Kraken the Kuzimbo, he 2'd and popped Thorns. It did just the Kraken alone did 1,305 damage to me. It hit him for like 400. The fact that you could do that again, which if you had played Smite a couple years ago when Thorns was meta and Reflect was meta, it's some of the worst Smite there is. Now, we're lucky that it's only Kuzimbo that really gets a crazy advantage out of this, but it is still happening. It is still consistent. I personally, if I'm playing against somebody who keeps playing Kuzimbo game to game, I'm going to start banning Kuzimbo. That's just is what it is. Set. People overestimate how hard, or how they underestimate how easy. I don't know. They think Set is hard. Okay. Set is not hard. Set is simple. You go into a fight without 3ing. You get into a fight. Whether you blink, whether you walk in, whether you slow and run up, get into a fight, pop your ult, pop your 3, run it down. While you're running it down autoing, you keep tapping 2. Whenever you're ready to kill, you want them. That simple. Set is doing well because Soul Eater is good, because Sustain is very strong, and a lot of people aren't building anti-heal because of the build meta that we shifted into. And on top of that, his poke and clear is very, very strong. Whether it's laning, like in a lane, as a soul laner, as a mid laner, as an ADC, you're seeing him in those roles, which is crazy. His clear is very good, and his clear in the jungle is good. He's being played in those other roles with Sigil. Sigil, usually Transcended, Soul Eater, and then tank or hybrid items a lot of the time. That out of solo as well. The early game, you can't kill Set with Sigil. Sigil is just very, very, very strong right now. The Danza, if you've watched my rank 1 Danza video, he builds Sigil into damage, kind of similar to how you would build Set. And I played that. I played it in the solo, and it's really strong. It's way stronger than it should be. On top of that, Set is also bugged right now, where sometimes your 3 can proc twice, meaning you can dash to one of your minions, and then it'll still be up, and you can dash again. So hopefully they fix that. Shiva. As a support and as a solo laner, Shiva's probably the go-to because he's the simplest god in the game. 2-1. Your 2-1 combo is very basic. Your 2 is very easy to hit. Your 1 is super easy to hit. You've got damage mitigation on your 3, so you get 2-1, 3 away. 2-1, 3 away whenever you need to. And then your ultimate is there to buy time between ability cooldowns or just to run at somebody to finish them off. Now, he's got a ton of poke. He does crazy well with Mana Core spikes, which is why he is excelling Mana Core spikes, and these damagey support and tank items are being built again. He procs Mana Core spikes on his 2 and on his 1. And because you're just spamming those on cooldown, you're getting them in, and you're picking them up easy because you're pulling the people into you. So you're getting those Mana Core spike pickups and the damage off very instantly, pretty much. He is just outperforming most of these other gods. The one downside is super late game. He falls off harder than most people. But if you have a strong enough front line, you won't feel the fall off. But I'm talking like 45 minutes because games are going 45, 50 minutes, pretty common. But in every bracket, that is not the case. So Shiva would be my automatic recommendation for easy god to play in support and win games. Same for solo. Easy god to play in solo and win games. Last on the list, Susano. He is getting banned way, way, way less, but his damage output has not changed. His ability to counter a lot of these gods that are top gods has not changed. He does well into Janus. He is one of the hardest counters into Janus. He also does well into most of these other gods that have stealth or quick movement because he also can match the movement. He has knockup / pulls, which are the best CC in the game, and his ultimate is still, to me, the best assassin ultimate in Smite, because if you can ultimate in the late game and ult 2 people, you'll knock them up. If you get it 2 people, you'll knock them up, which means you should automatically win the fight the second they get knocked up. They're also going to get hit for 1,000 to 1,500 damage, depending on who you hit. That's hard to argue against that it's really good, but the thing that takes it over the top is not too many patches ago, they made his auto attack canceling a joke. It used to be slightly difficult to auto attack cancel on his 1. And when I say slightly difficult, I don't mean difficult in terms of video games. I mean difficult in terms of Smite. There isn't a lot of stuff that's really, really hard in Smite, but it was one of the more difficult mechanics in Smite. They made it so it's not hard to do anymore. You can literally just hold left click and 1, hold left click 1, hold left click 1. So playing Susano became a more like a global event that when that happened, because people who couldn't auto attack cancel were pretty bad at the game started spamming him and realizing, oh, this god's good when you can AA cancel. They aren't taking that out, I don't think. I think they changed it on purpose without saying anything. I think they want the game to be simpler. So that is why Susano is here in this S tier. That is my SS tier with an explanation of the tier and the gods, and then S tier. To me and for me and in my experience, and think I've only played ranked this whole year. I haven't really played casuals. I don't know why on the Reddit too, they were like, weak as a casual player. I haven't played casuals at all this year. I've had 2 accounts in Masters or Grandmasters the entire year. Now I'm not playing a million games. I don't have 100 games played on my main at 3,500 MMR, but I'm like 3,000, I'm like 3,100 MMR with like 60 games played or something like that. And on my other account, I'm like 2,800 MMR with like 40 games played. So I've gone through the brackets. I see what it's like. I see what's being played. I see what's consistent. And that's just what I do. I analyze the game. So that is why these gods are where they are for me. Hopefully this is helping you guys out a little bit. If you would like me to break down A+ next, drop it in the comments. Because if you don't, then I won't do it. But if you do, I will, because it's a lot. And I think there's a lot to explain here, because these gods are gods that can perform really well when you know why they're good. So that's the video. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you need the tier list, if you need builds, if you need to look up your account, smitesource.com. If you didn't know at the top, that search bar at the top of Smite Source, you can look up your account there. So do that if you ever want to check out your stats. And builds are updated for the most part. Some of them I've missed, but I've been fixing them as people tell me I missed them. So that's updated as well. Like I said, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in the video later tomorrow, the next day, and the next day.